Well, now joining us in the studio, Tim Lang, Professor of Food Policy at City University, Rob Lyons, author of Panic on a Plate, and the actress and food campaigner Tracy Worcester. Tim Lang, I mean, we're getting lots of avenues people are pursuing, and we had the Minister there talking about food labelling, and of course really blaming this whole thing probably on criminality.
I get worried when a minister starts looking for the rotten apple to spread the poisons through the barrel. This is a systemic problem. Almost everyone agrees that. He's making, I think, setting the politics of this on the wrong direction. Essentially what you've got is wholesale and routine fraud and adulteration appearing to have happened. The enormity of the supply chains, the length and the complexity of the supply chains, that some of the biggest companies in the food system didn't actually know what they thought they were in control of, is staggering. Absolutely staggering.
This goes to the heart of your case, that food chain needs to come right back to the farm gate.
Well,
but how do you do that and keep the food cheap?
Well, maybe we shouldn't be so concentrating on cheap food, because if you've got incredibly cheap food, you're going to have people like farmers who are unable to compete, who are basically going to try and source from somewhere else that might not be what the label says it is. So in a way, you actually can't blame the people who are trying to survive as small-scale farmers from occasionally cheating the wholesalers coming in and finding something which is even cheaper. They don't look properly of where it comes from. So I believe that we need to shorten the distance between the producer, the farmer, and the consumer. And actually in supermarkets there are labels which say if it's organic or free range or outdoor raised, but it needs to say if it's been made in a factory farm. It needs to say exactly what has happened with that meat. And actually it's cheaper to buy quality meat if you go to your farmer's market, or if you look on the internet, you've got something like Big Barn, and you can really pay a good price and you can give the farmer the profits, not supermarkets.
You're concerned that cheap food is under siege, and you believe in cheap food.
Well, I think cheap food is a very good thing. It allows us, for poorer people to eat better. It allows for people who are slightly better off to have more choice about what they spend their income on. They can stop worrying about the food and start worrying about other choices.
But it seems you can only do that if you've got a long enough food chain to take you to Romania.
Well, I think that the specialisation of food and the increasing scale of food production is actually a generally good thing. Obviously, I think in this case, the big retailers and the big food manufacturers have been blindsided by this. This is the nature of fraud, is that people do things that you're not expecting them to do. And in this case, they've substituted the meat, which looks like beef, for beef, and got away with it for perhaps quite some time.
Well, is this a turning point? I mean, is this a moment when the whole thing will be looked at, both in terms of regulation, possibly even in terms of transport? I mean, if a supermarket here wants the stuff, should they not go direct to the producer and bring it back themselves?
They should do, and some do. Morrison's, for example, prides itself here on doing exactly that. It's vertically integrated. What you've exposed here is the complexity of the modern contract and specifications model of food governance.
But what do you do about it?
What a mouthful that is.
Do you scrap the food chain that goes through 11 different people before you reach Romania?
Well, if you're going to have that, you've got to make sure you've got control over it. What's been exposed, I keep on saying this, is you've got powerful companies that have got very tight, ruthless contracts and specifications, exactly as Tracy said, driving down the money that goes to the primary producer, the farmer, and squeezing the money and taking the money. This is a battle about who makes the money, actually, who's in control. But what has emerged is how limited the control of the apparently very powerful has been. And the choice is now becoming, what's a real food economy going to look like? That, I think, this might be an important moment. And the critical issue, maybe the others will disagree with me, is certainly from, I was yesterday at a major conference on non-communicable diseases, the modern diseases of civilization, and on climate change. The two great challenges of the modern world is cheap food is actually putting its costs onto healthcare and onto the environment. Right. It's not cheap. So eat better meat less often. And that means a different mode of production, actually.
So in this country, you have very, very good, small scale, a few of them, farmers. However, if you've got your supermarket only sourcing cheaper produce from countries with lower wages, with badly enforced environmental standards, you're actually not going to have those
therefore
farmers survive. So we need to protect our farmers.
You're resigning yourself to a more expensive meal, which is precisely
I'm saying
what...
protect.
More expensive meat.
Yeah.
We want to eat more plants, plants, less meat.
Well, I think meat is not the problem here. I don't think it's the problem in relation to health. And actually what we need is a genuinely global food market so we can get the efficiencies of a worldwide scale.
We're out of time.
Even more of this problem.
We're out of time. We'll be back tomorrow at 7. Until then, that is Channel 4 News. Good evening.
Goodbye.